Hello, dear friends. Today we are speaking about legal systems, what are very important for marketing departments. And right now we will try to catch all pivotal things in uh, law systems, in common law and civil law and other law systems, uh, being very important for marketing. And so we will try to catch and understand all kind of influencers to the marketing process from legal environment. I'm Kakhaber Djakeli, and this is fifth lesson in global marketing. Right now, what is very important to know that all kind of legal systems is divided into two types of law. One of them, this is civil code law, and another is entitled as common law. Right now, I want to say some history about civil code law. What is civil code law and by whom it was implemented? We know from our books that Napoleon Bonaparte is the father of civil code. It's right, and when we represent the history of Napoleon Bonaparte, we understand that he was genius. He was person with great talents in military activities, in military strategies and tactics, but not only. So when we speak about civil code, one night of Napoleon Bonaparte is very important. This night, Napoleon Bonaparte spent in jail, in French Republican jail. He was jailed to be sentenced. He was jailed to be executed. And if you read the memories of Napoleon Bonaparte, and I'm suggesting you to read the memories of great genius of our civilization, Napoleon Bonaparte. He says that he was jailed as other people were jailed in that period, so and many people were executed in the same night. People had not enough time and power and civil rights to defend themselves. They did not have any lawyers. And so they had only 5 minutes, 10 minutes to answer the questions, and directly they were sent to guillotine. And Napoleon was sitting in the cell, and he found a very old book. And this old book was only one friend Napoleon had in that night. And Napoleon used well this night. He did not want to think about execution, his possible execution, and probability of execution was really very high, like 95%. Probability of execution was in this way. Napoleon found this book and he thought that maybe this book had been uh, left by some other person who was already executed by French Republic court. So in the 10 hours, 12 hours, Napoleon was sitting in this very small cell reading this book. And what was this book? This book was written into Latin language, and Napoleon knew well Latin language. And this book was about Justinian's court. Who was Justinian? Justinian was emperor of Rome, and in his time, in the time of Justinian, emperor of Rome, this emperor tried to reform the law and established new type of court. And this new type of court really could not influence well Roman Empire in that period, but influenced well Napoleon, who was sitting waiting his possible execution. And Napoleon entirely read this interesting book, and finally, in early morning, he heard the steps. Someone were coming to his cell. This was military unit with sergeant, and sergeant opened the door and cried to Napoleon, "You are so like pardoned by our court and you are free." So Napoleon received freedom, directly received freedom from sergeant. And he went away. He left this terrible place full of imaginations of like sentenced, executed French aristocrats and royalists, and he immediately left this place and went to another city. But he took with him Justinian's code of law of Roman Empire, and he was thinking that this was not accidental situation when he found this book in this cell. This was something like from heaven. And because he became very powerful person very soon, in 1804, so after 10 years, he became first person in France and became emperor of France, French Empire. He started to reform all system of law of France according Justinian's law, but entitled as Code of Napoleon. So the Code of Napoleon was established very soon, and this code helped people to find answers on a lot of questions they had to the system of justice. Right now we have this Napoleonic civil code in a lot of countries around the world, and this is very important to know that you can read this code, you can understand this code, you can know that Napoleonic civil law code is similar in different countries. They have one big principle, similar principles they have, so it can be well understood by marketers and marketologists. But what about common law? Common law was born in some Asian countries. And first example of law code is very old. But common law especially comes from Old England. We know that social status was very important in any country in the period of Dark Ages. So common law, step by step, won victory over social status of the person. So, but from beginning it was only trial by ordeal. So person could uh, defend himself or herself through trial by ordeal, what was very wrong tradition. But in some period, this is also very interesting thing, habeas corpus, this kind of type of new innovation was implemented into common law, and habeas corpus, this was like the part of the people who were invited from like civil persons and who were part of the court, part of legal system, but they were like jury. They were listening to a person who was trying to explain his some kind of litigations and explain the process, some kind of accident he had or she had. So this jury was really independent. An independent jury made English law to be very flexible. So English law finally won great victory, and this was supremacy of common law over the monarchy. And we know that the petition of rights was established, and through this petition of rights, monarch was defeated, and habeas corpus, together with petition of rights, and together with many kind of innovations, finally established democratic society in England. But this democratic society was not implemented in one day. This was very terrible time of many defeats and many victories. And finally, so people's opinion was victorious, and habeas corpus and other kind of innovations in common law, they finally celebrated their victory over this social status of person who was sued by court, by some kind of litigation. Finally, we say that liberty, this is right of any kind of person, but this liberty should be functioning well through systems of law. And we have this kind of two systems of law: civil law of Napoleonic code, and common law, what comes especially from Great Britain. So it's very interesting how this common law and civil law, they can be compared to each other. For example, in common law, disputes are decided by reliance on the authority of past judicial decisions. In civil law, legal systems reflect, according to the structural concepts and principles of the book, code, what is established, and anybody can read this code, and anybody can find who is right and who is wrong. So companies also in civil law, they formed by contract between two or more parties who are fully liable for the actions of the company. So the third part of law, this is law systems. This is a very interesting type of law, what is entitled as Islamic law. This is legal systems in many Middle Eastern countries. They represent Islamic law, for example, Sharia. This is comprehensive code governing Muslim conduct in all areas of life, including business and family and other kind of things. And Quran, what is holy book of Muslims, prescribes many kind of decision-making principles, even in the business. And Hadith, like common law, based on life, sayings, and practices of Muhammad, great prophet of Muslims, and identifies forbidden practices as haram and great practices as halal. This is really very interesting when we speak about halal and haram, because this is already part of marketing. We know that in Muslim countries, trademark of halal represents something what is blessed by God, what is very quality. Even in Christian countries, in supermarkets, you can find a lot of food, especially meat products, identified by trademark of halal. And even many doctors today in European countries, especially once I experienced this in Germany, doctor prescribed meat products identified by trademark of halal to German persons who were not Muslims at all. That means that marketing, even today, even in not-Muslim countries, is using the trademarks what are coming from Islamic law and Islamic tradition, and this is good. This is multicultural society of the world, and this is great to be taken into consideration. So it's very interesting when we speak about different kinds of systems of the law, what is influencing marketing, to go to speak about sovereignty of the country. So when we speak about sovereignty of the country, all times we have opinion about what will happen to Russia and its neighbors. Can Western countries harm Russia through sanctions? And right now, are these sanctions really effective against Russia of Mr. Putin? So, sovereignty today, sovereignty is represented as the mirror of international law. Sovereignty is described by different authors. So Richard Stanley's version I want to use right now. This is: a sovereign state was considered free and independent. It regulated trade, managed the flow of people into and out of its boundaries, and exercised individual jurisdiction over all persons and property within its territory. It had the right, authority, and ability to conduct its domestic affairs without outside interference and to use its international power and influence with full discretion. So, sovereign countries should be really free to defend its citizens, to defend itself, to defend its boundaries. But what is happening right now, still we don't want to understand. So one big country harms other countries and harassing their structures, harassing their democratic some kind of missions. And this big country with great muscles is trying to destroy all neighbors. Why? Not to show that example of success in neighborhood regions, in neighborhood countries. So that means that sovereignty soon will be one of the great questions of our civilization. And this is also a very pivotal point in any kind of discussions. And this is very essential point for marketing as well. So in marketing, we have special type of country marketing, country branding, city marketing, territorial marketing, and regional marketing. So these types of marketing are really very interesting. But right now we are speaking about how country should be used by marketing department of the company as a great principle, great ground for success. Sovereignty and global market integration. This is the next question in our chapter. Some people believe that global market integration is eroding national economic sovereignty. Brexit is the example of this. But we understand that other people, they are very happy with the European Union. And English people who decided not to stay in European Union, they have their experience. They have huge history. They experience something from their memories, and their memories sometimes like gives them ability to cut ties with uh, European countries, with Materic countries. Why? Because one of great political person of United States once said that Britain is like big military chief nearby European countries. So this has unique advantage, and this unique advantage this country wants to use. Okay, no problem. But the ultimate resource of a government is power. And we have seen repeatedly that the willpower of government can be overcome by persistent attack from the marketplace. What marketplace will tell to government of Great Britain soon? This will be very interesting to discuss. And this is a topic of our next meeting. So right now we should also discuss political risks. Risk of a change in politics, risk of a change in economic, social, and other kind of environment. All these kind of risks, they come from legal systems, risks of legal systems. What we understand as a risk? This is the great question. First of all, war, social unrest, frictions, and ethnic or religious conflicts. They are also partly ingredients of the risk. Orderly political transfers, politically motivated violations, international disputes, changing government or some kind of orientation of government. This is also great risk. Social conditions in different countries, corruption and nepotism, and we know that according index of corruption and nepotism, many countries they have terrible situation. Their people have terrible situation, and their people try to escape this kind of countries and find some kind of right decision and right life in foreign markets and foreign regions. Labor costs, tax discriminations, and a lot of other things, they are part of political risks. So when we speak about taxes, for example, this is very interesting that high taxation can lead to black market growth and cross-border shopping. So high taxes in China, for example, lead to smuggling of oil, cigarettes, computers, even movies. So high taxes in Great Britain, they are leading to contraband. So people, British people, traveling outside the British islands, so going to France, going to Italy, they are coming back and in their cars, approximately 85, 90 bottles of French or Italian wine can be found. This is statistics. So this is very bad. Corporate taxation, especially companies attempt to limit tax liabilities if taxes are very high by shifting location of income to tax paradise and tax-free zones. Some countries can seize your assets through expropriation. And what is the expropriation? Governmental action to dispose a foreign company or investor. But sometimes expropriation means that this country gives you compensation for this, what they took from you. And also the next part, how countries can seize your assets. This is confiscation, occurs when no compensation is provided. That means that in 1917, in Russian Empire, the part of expropriation done by Bolsheviks to foreign companies and domestic companies, this was only confiscation because nobody was thinking about some compensation. Even people were executed and eliminated. The class of entrepreneurs was fully eliminated by Bolsheviks. So Bolsheviks were killing anybody who could think in some kind of creative way. So this was their understanding of new time. So countries can seize your assets through nationalization. This is little
more holy activity. When government takes control of some or all of the enterprises in an entire industry because of idea, because of ideology, they want to say that now they can manage better this kind of companies. Now they can manage better this kind of assets, what they already nationalize. So when we think about these very bad practices about how to size assets of companies, one of them, this is creeping expropriation, what is limiting economic activities of one company or some kind of part of companies. So, and they try to limit repatriation of profits. They try to limit technical assistance and prices. So this is entitled as creeping expropriation. So international law right now is one interesting example of new type of phenomenon of legal systems of justice, what can overcome the civilization of wars and terrible things, terrible extensions. So World Court of International Court of Justice is established, and judicial arm of the United Nations is already working in this direction. The judicial arm of the United Nations founded in 1947. So step by step the influence of this organization is growing. Right now it's very interesting thing when we speak about intellectual properties. Intellectual properties are too important for the future of economy. In countries where intellectual properties well protected, we see democratic development. But in countries where intellectual property is not provided and supported or protected by legal systems, we see unsustainability, not sustainability of developments. So, what about we're speaking? The patent, what is like great thing, what is giving to an inventor exclusive right to make, use, and sell an invention for a specified period of time. This is first of all patent. Trademark, what is distinctive mark, what makes company to be distinguished from other companies, and also what's really very interesting, copyright, establishing ownership of a written, recorded, and performed some kind of materials, and what is really one of the interesting thing, what supports business organization and makes this business organization to be sustainable. So infringement of intellectual property takes place. Counterfeiting, unauthorized copying and production of a product associated counterfeit, limitation of property rights, piracy, and this kind of part of the piracy is terrible to many regional countries where we see that people watch movies what are not bought by their companies, by their countries legally, and we see a lot of illegal like trade by different parts using all kind of black market powers to trade, to make commerce of some kind of unauthorized things, especially movies, books, and a lot of different materials. So, when we speak about intellectual property, uh, patent rights should be well understood by marketers. And when we speak about uh, patent rights, what kind of new solutions are established by European Union. So this is new type of office, which is entitled as the European Patent Office, what makes patent law to be very effective, to be very flexible, to register all kind of trademarks, country by country. But soon the community patent convention will cover plenty of number of countries, and according Madrid Protocol of trademarks, owners can be protected in 74 countries with one application. So this makes easier patent policy of company, and this patent policy, this is one of the ground and one of the success oriented principle of global marketing. How to protect intellectual property, used by different authors who are working about the principles of Madrid Agreement and Madrid Protocol. We understand that uh, companies and organizations, they can use this kind of rights to establish their business, to try to protect their business, their innovations and inventions. And through inventions, they can do a lot of money. And innovations and inventions, this is future of the business, and we understand that the next stage of the business will be full of creative oriented activities. And these creative oriented activities, they need rights, they need support, they need protection, and this protection comes from Madrid Agreement and Madrid Protocol of Intellectual Property. So about Paris Convention, we can say also this is very important. Almost 100 countries, they are united under the Paris Convention, and this convention facilitates multi-country patent registration, ensures that once a company makes it easier to develop its intellectual some kind of activities to some kind of direction. This should be well protected by countries, and countries, they have the mission to protect the subjects of commerce by their new legal activities to not only protect intellectual property but encourage companies to make a lot of innovations and be sure that these innovations will help them and will not be stolen by others, will not be used unrightly by others. So the European Patent Convention, what works in European Union and Switzerland, this will make this will uh, encourage business organizations to be innovative and to attract a lot of customers and a lot of capital through their innovation activity, what will be protected by European Patent Convention. So what kind of companies they are receiving most patents in our time? This is the question. What can be very interesting for you? First of all, IBM has greatest place among very innovative companies having a lot of patents. IBM has first place. IBM in 1 year makes more than 7,000 patents to be some assets of this company, to be assets of IBM. After IBM comes Samsung Electronics, which has more than 5,000 patents annually to be so assets of Samsung Electronics. The third place, it is Canon. The fourth place, it is Sony, and so on. Patents, they make businesses to be more appreciated by suppliers, customers, by uh, consumers, by competitors. So patents are really one of the interesting part of the business, what makes great companies to be fully innovative, to rely their development on innovative activities. About antitrust policy, we should say also some words. We know that Sherman Act is the main thing in antitrust policy, what was signed uh, in American Congress in 1890. And this Sherman Act prohibits certain restrictive business practices, including fixing prices, limiting production, allocating markets, or any other schemes designed to limit or avoid competition. And we know that competition, this is the greatest engine of market economy. What makes market economy to be sustainable? This is only competition. So, and the Sherman Act, what's interesting, this applies to United States companies outside United States borders and to foreign companies operating in the United States. To follow the Sherman Act, to be very attentive to the Sherman Act. So, licensing and trade secrets, also this is great part of marketing legal environments. So licensing is a contractual agreement in which a licensor allows a licensee to use patents, trademarks, trade secrets, technology, and other intangible assets in return for royalty payments or other forms of compensation. So, and we should ask ourselves why assets may be licensed, how to price assets, and the rights granted to others to use patents, to use some kind of trademarks, how these rights should be given to others, how this kind of legal acts, agreements should be formed. So this is also very interesting part of the marketing. So bribery and corruption, we know that Foreign Corrupt Practices Act works really well in the United States, requires publicly held companies to institute internal accounting controls that would record all transactions, makes companies uh, not to be involved into bribery, into corruption, even in other countries. So prohibits payments to third parties when there is reason to believe it may be channeled to foreign officials. So, and also one more interesting act, what is Omnibus Trade and Competitiveness Act, what is also signed by American Congress, allows for Greece payments to cut red tape. So that means that getting shipment through customs, getting permits, and this is very interesting, corruption rankings of the countries. So the first country what is not identified with corruption. So this is totally free from corruption. This is Denmark. The second place has New Zealand. The third place has Finland. Fourth place has Sweden. And fifth place has Norway. The sixth place has Switzerland. And seventh place has Singapore. And eighth place has Netherlands, and Luxembourg, and 10th place has Canada among countries that are really free from corruption. But what we see among corrupt countries, 166th place is Eritrea. So terrible situation. 169 Turkmenistan, terrible situation. 170 Iraq is terrible situation. 171 South Sudan. 172 Afghanistan, still is war. 174th North Korea. We know how people are
so panicked by Kim Jong Il, who is trying to improve his rockets and try to uh, like discourage people around the world. And so 174, this is Somalia, the country of piracy. So people in Somalia are great. Students from Somalia are wonderful. Many geniuses come from Somalia, but their state system is very corrupt. That's why people escaped from Somalia to other countries. So when we understand the regulatory environment of countries, and we know that marketing activities affected by international and regional economic organizations, what is European Union or World Trade Organization, and regional economic organizations, they also have wonderful role in economic activities. First of all, this is Treaty of Rome, established the European Community, which became the United Europe after some period. Uh, so this kind of Treaty of Rome created the Council of Ministers, which is the main decision-making body, along with the European Commission, the European Parliament, and European Court of Justice. The European Council guides integration-related issues, and so on, monetary union, and so on. Finally, we have this rhetoric question to you and to everybody. What do you think? Finally, uh, global community of countries, and especially United States, can stop Russia, can harm Russia through legal activities, through activities what can bring Russia to some kind of different type of decision making. Especially when I'm reading newspapers, I can use some kind of interesting ideas from this kind of newspapers, especially from financial time and other kind of newspapers. This is very interesting question. Will Western sanctions hurt Putin's Russia or not? And how countries can realize their great power, realize their democratic movement to stop some nations with military muscles and make these nations to believe in democracy, to stop their aggression and stop their stupid generals invading neighborhood regions. So if this question can be positively answered, even not today, even in next 5 years, and we can say that all our countries of the world who believe in democracy, who believe in persons' great mission, who believe in humankind's great mission in the world and in this space, we can realize one of the greatest dreams of humanity. And these dreams, they are well designed by great brains, great minds. And finishing my lecturing, I want to use this kind of aphorism once told by Immanuel Kant, what sounds into English in this way: I believe in the wisdom of humanity. I believe in the wisdom of humankind. I believe in the wisdom of my people.
and people around the world. All these things sounds really well, and we should realize this great and interesting time when wisdom of the people governs the life. Thank you, and wishing you a great day, wishing you great success, and wishing you to believe in the person. And next, very bright future of civilization. Kakhaber Djakeli, for you, this is Class of Global Marketing. Goodbye.